Okay, let's dive into this. We hear it all the time, right? AI is going to make us smarter, more productive, more efficient. But what if it's actually having the opposite effect? In this explainer, we're going to dig into the surprising and scientifically backed ways that AI is changing the very way we think.
So, let's just kick things off with a pretty provocative question that a lot of recent studies are forcing us to ask. Is our growing reliance on these incredibly powerful tools, well, silently weakening our own intelligence?
I mean, think about it for a second. 10, maybe 15 years ago, you probably had a bunch of phone numbers just memorized. You knew how to get around your city without a second thought. Today, our phones do all that for us. And this isn't just about being convenient. It's a huge shift in how we use our brains for just basic everyday stuff. And believe me, this is just the beginning of the story.
So what does the science actually say about all this? Beyond our gut feelings, what is really happening inside our heads when we start to outsource our thinking to artificial intelligence? Well, to get to the bottom of it, researchers set up this really fascinating experiment. They took a bunch of students, split them into 3 groups, and had them all write an essay. The first group got to use ChatGPT. The second group could use Google Search. And the third group, they had no tools at all. And the whole time, they were hooked up to EEG machines, monitoring their brain activity. And wow, the results were pretty striking. As you'd probably guess, the group with no tools showed the most brain engagement. The Google group was in the middle. But the ChatGPT group, their brain activity was way, way lower than both of the others.
In fact, the effect was so obvious that one researcher just came right out and said it was as if their brains were, literally, switched off. And it got worse. The study found that over the months, the AI users actually got lazier. They pretty much just started copying and pasting without really understanding or remembering any of the information.
And this wasn't some one-off finding. A huge study by Microsoft found a direct negative link. As AI use went up, critical thinking scores went down. People's focus actually shifted from, solving the problem to just figuring out the best prompt to feed the AI. It really suggests that our independent problem-solving muscles can get weaker if we stop using them.
But hold on a minute. Doesn't this all sound a little familiar? This fear that some new piece of tech is going to make us all dumber. Well, it's not exactly new. In fact, this is an anxiety that has a very, very long history.
Go back thousands of years, and you had the Greek philosopher Socrates worrying that the invention of writing would destroy our ability to remember things. Fast forward to the 1970s, and you had teachers panicking that calculators would mean kids would never learn basic math. It seems like every big technological leap comes with this exact same fear.
But, okay, the internet did actually bring something new to the table. Scientists call it the Google effect, or digital amnesia. It's basically our brain's tendency to actively not store information it knows it can just look up later. Why waste the energy remembering the thing itself when you can just remember where to find it? So this is the really crucial point. Today's AI is different. See, Google helps us find information, but we still have to click the links, read, and process it all. Modern AI is so seamless, so instant, that it automates the entire reasoning process. It takes away the mental friction, the struggle, and that struggle is exactly where learning happens. And that brings us to maybe the most powerful example of how outsourcing a core mental skill can physically, and I mean physically, change the actual structure of our brains. Before we all had GPS in our pockets, London taxi drivers had to pass this incredibly hard test called the Knowledge. They had to memorize 25,000 streets. It's wild. Well, a landmark study scanned their brains and found something amazing. The part of their brain responsible for navigation, the hippocampus, was significantly larger than the average person's.
And here's why that matters so much. The hippocampus isn't just for directions. It's also critical for forming memories of events. The specific details of your last vacation. And it's essential for imagining the future or connecting different ideas. So when we stop using our mental navigation skills, we're not just getting worse at finding our way around, we could be weakening the very part of our brain that helps us build a rich personal history and dream up what's next.
So, if AI poses this kind of risk, what's the solution? Are we supposed to just abandon this incredible technology to save our brains? Realistically, that's just not an option. Boycotting AI at this point would be like trying to get a job today without knowing how to use a computer. The gains in productivity are just too big to ignore. So we have to find a way to get the best of both worlds. And it turns out, a huge part of the answer lies in understanding and protecting what some people call grunt work. The repetitive, sometimes boring, but absolutely foundational tasks that AI is just so good at automating away. Think about it.
Writing a long essay from scratch, summarizing a dense document, writing some basic code, these things can feel like a slog, but it's through that very process that we build the fundamental knowledge, the mental frameworks that lead to true expertise. If we skip that whole training ground, we might never develop the deep skills we need to really master a subject.
And this all leads to the single most important takeaway from all of this research. It's a simple idea, but it's powerful. We have to start treating our minds with the same intention we treat our bodies. It really is a case of use it or lose it.
So here's a pretty simple framework to think about. First, treat AI as your co-pilot, not your autopilot. Use it to help you out, but you are always in command. Second, protect your grunt work. Make a conscious choice to do those foundational tasks yourself. And third, train your brain on purpose. Just like you'd go to the gym, find challenges, puzzles, mental math, learning a new skill that keep your mind sharp.
So we'll end with this thought. AI is promising us a world of ultimate convenience, a world without friction. But as we've just seen, our brains need that friction to learn, to grow, and to stay strong. So the question we all really have to ask ourselves is this: what is the true price of a frictionless mind?